Hey guys, welcome to the studio. So this build guide will be pretty quick. This is a Patreon project for Stainless's drill gun. And with the complexity of this 3D model, it'll probably be like, if you're not a Patreon member, it'll probably be like $10 on my Patreon shop. But because it is a Patreon project, any paid members will have access to this for free. So if you are a $5 member, then you can just have immediate access to this 3D model and any other Patreon projects, regardless of complexity. With that being said, we'll jump right into the 3D model and I will show you how to assemble it using the 3D model itself. So first we'll start with the arm brace. This is pretty straightforward. You're going to want it to print it with this side facing down onto the print bed, and then everything else is just printing up. You're probably going to want to print this with a slightly higher infill or walls. That way these two kind of flimsy pieces are a bit sturdier. And these holes are fitted for 5/16 inch wooden dowel. That way you can shove some wooden dowels in there and use them to add stability and strength as you connect them to the following piece. As for the size of this arm brace, I kind of just chose like a size that's a bit larger than what my arm size is. It shouldn't be too big of a deal unless you have giant hands or you got the forearms of Popeye. You're not going to have too much difficulty with shoving your forearm through this hole. Right here is the body. As you can see, the wooden dowel goes straight through the bottom base of it and pretty much just goes all the way through. Now, as you can see, the body of this drill gun is hollow, and that's pretty much for convenience's sake. That'll allow you to not use up as much material, and since it is hollow, you'll be able to store like a water bottle or your snacks as you're cosplaying as Stainless. Right here is the lid. The fit onto the body is fairly snug. I wouldn't recommend super gluing it to the body unless you really don't care about the hollow nature of the body and making use of that. This is the grip. This is a fairly large piece. I would recommend 3D printing a lot of these pieces on a medium-sized 3D printer and printing this particular piece in this orientation. You're going to end up with a lot of overhangs and support structures, but unless you're willing to print it on its side or slicing it into smaller chunks using a program like Mesh Mixer, then just printing it like this should be fine. Certain parts like this crevice here, it's going to be a little tricky to remove the support structure, but don't worry, I believe in you. Right here is the muzzle. This muzzle fits right into the grip with the proper tolerances, and the hole here, it is sized to fit a DC motor, specifically one that is sized for the Griertizen DC 12 volt motor. I would recommend something just like 50 RPM. You really don't need it to be that fast. And then I would recommend purchasing one of these motor couplers. It is a flange coupler, and the reason being for that is because we have this drill motor adapter here. I'm going to turn this invisible. As you can see, the flange coupler, the flat side, is going to very easily fit into this cavity. And then what you're going to want to do is affix this 3D printed motor adapter onto the flange coupler using some M3 screws that will go through this side. And on the other side of the flange coupler, you will have some M3 nuts, and that will screw it in. And then that way, this entire motor adapter will be attached to that flange coupler, and that flange coupler will then be attached to the motor, and then that motor will then be attached or affixed into this cavity here through the muzzle. And the way you can do that is, I would recommend something like epoxy for the motor at least. Super glue, it's a little tricky, especially with binding metals, but you can use super glue to bind the motor adapter to the drill 1. And if I go ahead and turn the motor adapter invisible, as you can see, this is how it's going to slot into drill 1, and that way that would create two frames, two separate moving frames, with the motor being the interface. I recommend printing drill 1 with this side facing onto the print bed. That way you can avoid having any weird overhangs that would interfere with tolerances on this end. From here, we have drill 2, and as you can see, there is this hole. This is also a 5/16 inch hole, or 8 millimeters for a dowel. Here's drill 3. So yeah, overall, the 3D model is pretty simple. Here we do have this front bar. This is pretty much just an aesthetic piece that fits right into the grip. But yeah, overall, pretty straightforward 3D model, pretty straightforward prop. Some of the 3D printing might be a little tricky, but you know, just based on the shape of the prop, it's kind of it is what it is, and it shouldn't be too difficult overall. Well, yeah, that is Stainless's drill gun. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask in the comments down below. I've got a lot of projects lined up for the next year, so I'm probably gonna need to hurry up and continue working and just hammering it out. 3D models and prototypes, and pretty much just kind of buckling down and getting to work on it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and like, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see ya.